Hi, I'm live, right? I'm not sure. You think I am? Shouldn't turn it on because I was still refreshing my feed. Come back anytime? Well, hi! Hi everyone! Hi, tonight we're going to learn all about riveting. Are you excited? Yay! I will share a lot of tips on how to rivet. Hold on, I'm gonna read my list over here. I'll demonstrate how to rivet on hard to reach places and tips and tricks how to fit the rivet into the hole. How to create a rivet head from a ball head pin, and how to create a rivet head just from wire from scratch, and how to measure a rivet to make sure that you get the right height and everything, so it's not loose or too much of it. So let's get started. I can see a lot of people here. Hi Amber, hi Carlene, hi Paulette, hi Linda, hi. So nice of you to join me again today. So I'm first gonna show you a few tools that you need, not really like need, but nice to have. You can use a lot like this one. This one is a hex riveting tool, and is that the name? It's a hex something. Sorry, I kind of forgot now. Well, this one you can use the tiny holes over here to match the wire for the rivet. So feel like you kind of match it like that, put it inside to create a rivet head or to flatten a ball pin, which I will show later. And there's also a divider which can come in handy. This is only the economy one, so it's not expensive. I think I just saw it was, it's about $6 or $7 for this hex vice. I think that's the name. It's also pretty cheap, and you can choose either to use a riveting hammer. This is Fred's hammer 406. And it has a cross peen end, which is a little bit curved. Can you see it? It's a little bit curved on one side, on the cross peen end, and the other end is flat, but in the shape of a rectangle or a square. You don't need to have a riveting hammer, but I'm such a sucker for hammers, so I kind of want to collect everything. So that's the downside being a tool hoarder, right? You just kind of buy things that you don't really need. I mean, it's not like you cannot use it, but you can use a ball peen hammer, the ball side of it, to flare out the rivet head. So you have two options, and I will show how to use the cross peen or the ball part, the ball peen. I usually like using the ball peen better because it it seems to be more even to me, but I guess it just depends on how you practice and what tool you're more used to, despite of everything else. So, like I said, it's just a couple options to make the rivet head. It's good to have options, right? And you can also use, if you're like lazy and or like, oh, I don't think I can rivet, you can use this tool. This one is made by Crafted Findings. Yeah, there's an S, right? Crafted Findings, which has a hole punch on one side and a riveting tool on the other side. Now this one you cannot use just any wire that you have, so that's the downside of it. You have to use the rivet heads that the company makes. And Catwoman asked, where do we get the hex tool? You can get it from Contenti.com. That's where I got mine. I think you can just search for hex and it's probably going to come up. So I'm going to show you back to the riveting tool. I have organized my rivet heads that I bought from the company. Hope you can see it through the container here. So there are like different sizes. So there's the like predefined size and length of the rivet. So there's the downside of having this tool, but it can be super useful if you have a hard to reach places, but it's also limited in a way because there's so much space you can maneuver your piece. So I think they have two different sizes of it, and I have both of them. They first came up with, I think this is the short one, and then I suppose like people asking for a taller one so they can rivet thicker pieces, and they came up with something that's higher up. I don't remember which one is this. I think this is the short one, but I'm not super sure. I have both. The other one is somewhere in my drawer. So like I said, it could be limiting because the space that this thing has, it's like less than, it's probably like less, if not just about an inch wide over here from the rivet to the curve. So, and the thickness is also obviously pretty limited. So yeah, like I said, it could be limiting, but it could also be super useful depending on what you make. I will demonstrate it later as well. So for another thing you need is a used credit card or a gift card or whatever. It's just like a normal thickness of a credit card, and this one is useful to measure the thickness of the wire that you need to cut, to make sure that you don't cut a little, it's like too high or anything, because if it's too high then you're just gonna bend the wire instead of flattening it out. So that's why like having like a used credit card would be super useful for that. So let's get started. I think I'm done with my introduction. Oh, there's another thing that I like to use too, and I will explain it later. is a rubber tubing, and I wonder if you can guess what is this one for. Just mention in the comment and we'll see if your answer is correct. Yeah. I'm gonna clear out my workspace and we can get started. Hi Namir. It's nice to see some familiar faces. I hope my camera won't freeze up like yesterday. Let me see if I can go closer. Okay, I think that's good enough. Now, okay, which one should I do first? Let's just make a rivet head with a ball wire. So this one is a 16 gauge wire that I already cut and balled. You can watch my other video to see how to ball wire if you haven't learned how to do that. So I'm going to select a corresponding size, the hole size here. So obviously you can't go in if it's too small like that, and if it just fits, it will just go in like that. You want one that's like fit. You don't want one that is too big. So you don't want to put here or here or here and here. It's just gonna go through, obviously. So pick one that is like most snug to your wire size. So like that. So because I like to have a little bit of tail, because sometimes it can get stuck a little after you hammer it, especially like if you cannot find in between sizes and your wire kind of like in between sizes and you kind of had to use the bigger hole. Now sometimes it can get stuck up because like the metal got wedged into the hole. That's why I like to leave a little bit of tail underneath it. But then you will need something to hold it, right? So here I have 2 steel blocks. You can also put this on top of a vise, just like this vise, and put it. It's kind of hard to show on camera. Let me take this off. So you can put this on top like that. So you can put it on top of a vise like that. But since I cannot mount this vise on my stump, so I'm gonna use this 2 of the same height steel block where I can put my hex anvil. I think that's the name, hex anvil. On top of these, like I have like a small cap for it, so the wire can go through it. So let's see, I'm going to use because I'm just going to flatten this up. You can use my favorite, the planishing hammer, just to like hammer it flat, like so. It's super easy. And there you have it. It's like super easy. Now it's already flat. and you can just push it out from the back like so, and you have a rivet head. But the downside of having it like this, a lot of times the head pin wouldn't be like straight in the middle, but you can't really see it once it's on unless you have like super precision. Need it to be like super precision on the metal. It doesn't really matter. I mean, after you like rivet the back of it, you can kind of like turn it around to point it to the direction that you want. So like I said, like most of the times, even though it's like off center, it doesn't really matter. Paulette and Amir was clueless about the rubber tubing, and then Paulette says to help fit a skinny wire in a wider hole to hold it without wobbling. That is my guess. 100 for Paulette. Woo! That's exactly what I will use it for. Good job, good job. So now let's see if we can do the... Do you need me to repeat this demonstration with the ball rivet? I think it's pretty clear. You just put it in and then hammer it, and boom, you got a rivet head. But one thing that I like to do, like things that I always do, is I like to sand it while it's on this place, just to smooth it out a little bit before I use it someplace else. That's just, you know, just me. You don't have to do it like this, but that's just me. So like now you've seen how we make a ball head. One thing about having a ball peen head as a rivet is that it produces super big nail head like that. So sometimes you want your rivet head to be like super small. Now that's when you just make a rivet from a wire. Let's see if I cut this too. Okay. So I fit it in the hole, but it's too high. See, I can't really lift it up. See, it's too high. You don't want this to happen, because when you hammer it, it's just gonna bend, okay? So it's just gonna be like that, and you don't want that to happen. Let me straighten this out first. So what you want to do is to fit this in the fittest hole, the most snug that you can find, and then you can put your used credit card, and then with your flush cutter you cut it right on there. So there you have it. This is the correct size for your rivet head. Now let's see, first I'm gonna demonstrate how I use the riveting hammer here. Basically you go hammer it. Remember that eye's on the prize and not on the hammer head. So your eyes should always on the rivet wire over here. So you just kind of hit the wire gently. You don't need to use a lot of force for this, and it will flare out, but then you will see that it's not like really round. So it's kind of oval in a way. So you want to move it to the other side. And hit like rotate it 90 degrees and then hit the same way again. You can rotate it any way you want until you think it's round enough to your liking. But the crossbeam head created a texture on it. Let's see if you can see it better with the light. That's kind of like a texture because of the crossbeam. And we're not sure if it shows well on camera. Okay, so because of if you don't like that texture, you can then use the flat face to smooth it out. It's also useful to make it like flatter. And then you can use this. You can sand it. Let's see if I can push it out easily. Okay. A little bit. Oops. Fell off. Okay, I found it. So that's the rivet head that created with the riveting hammer. Has a really small nail head compared to this one that we created from the ball. So it depends on the application. To just know the technique is really useful. I usually like to use this one over here, like from the ball peen, because it just fit my aesthetic. But occasionally I will also use this one. So now let's see if we can create the same one using the ball peen hammer. Yeah, let's see, more wire here. And the anvil, the hex anvil, that's the name. If you're wondering, I'm pretty sure I'm correct right now. It's a hex anvil. So this one, and we're gonna use the old credit card that I have already punched out the hole, obviously, to fit this. So let's cut it. And now let's use this one. So it's basically the same. Oops, I lost it. I need to bring my blocks together so it can kind of hold the wire better, because it get bent after I hit my wire on my anvil. So I'm gonna straighten it out again. Let's see if this works better. Should I hold it closer? can also like I think it would be better for this if you just cut at the bottom, and so it doesn't get bent. Like the head on the anvil on two blocks like this works better for the ball head, the ball head pin, because it cannot go through it, while this like a just straight wire. I think it would be best if we cut it near the bottom like that. So I just kind of place it on the bench block, and now we're going to flare it out with this. So again, it's just like gentle tap, eyes on the prize. So with the ball peen hammer, I feel like I can get it to a round shape just in one, from one direction, because it's a ball head, and it spread it out pretty evenly compared to a cross peen head where you have to move it like 90 degrees or whatever angle you need. So that's why the ball peen is my preferred hammer for riveting. Others may disagree, but that is just me. So I'm going to try to push this out. It's kind of hard because it kind of gets stuck. This is why I don't really use this kind of rivet, because it can be a bee to push it out. Let's see, I think we may need a center punch. See if I can push it out. Yay, finally. See, this is why I prefer the ball head pin. Like, come on. There you go. Now we have it. Let's see in comparison with the other one. I think the other one is a little weird looking, because I did it like this in between the two blocks, and it kind of sink a little. So I should have done it like this one. It's just cut it on the sides of the anvil, put it on the anvil, and then put my credit card and cut it, instead of having it in between the two blocks like that. So this one is a little weird looking. But pretty much create the same rivet head style. It's small and discreet. So now let's see, or also the size of the head. If you're using the ball head pin, the size of the head also determines the size of the rivet that you create. So smaller it is, the smaller the rivet head. It's just common sense, I guess. So this one here will create a smaller head than this one. So now let's see the application of the rubber tubing. So sometimes you want to rivet decorations like beads and whatnot, right? But they came with a predefined hole that you cannot change. So you have to either fit your wire into that size, or if you have a skinnier wire and you want to fit it inside the hole, that's where the rubber tubing can come in. So you cut it just the size where you want it to hide. So I'm just gonna cut a random size here. So let's pretend we're going to rivet just 2 beads stacked, right? Why you don't want this to happen? Like you can see the hole is much bigger than the wire here. What happens if you don't if your wire is a lot smaller than the hole, and then like just imagine this is the hole and this is the wire, right? When you hit it, it will just bend in the middle, so it will not create a head on the back where you hammer it. It will just kind of bend in the middle, so it's kind of hard to rivet when it happens. So that's why if you have some rubber tubing, it gets like I will use a thicker one here. It can go up to 16 gauge, I think. This rubber tubing fits up to 16 gauge. So it can fit this bead really snugly after the tubing is inserted. So this will not go anywhere, and your wire will stay straight inside when you're like riveted on another metal. So that's the usefulness of a rubber tubing. Well, of course you wanna, I cut it a little short if I want to have like both of these beads put in. So you want to cut it to make sure that it's hidden like all the way inside the bead. So it should like end here. I cut mine a little too short. So I hope that's clear. Namir, where did you learn the technique with the rubber tubing? I've never seen that. I don't know, I just kind of figure it out myself. I think I had some rubber tubing for something else, and then I saw what happened to my rivet, and I needed something to fill in. Usually you can also use like really fine wire coil around the wire if you don't have the rubber tubing, but the rubber tubing is just convenient, you know. And so that's why like I kind of figure it out after like I couldn't use any of my fine wires. Sometimes they are still too big for to fit the hole like this, and the rubber tubing just kind of perfect. So it was kind of like an accident, a happy accident, I guess. It's just I happened to have the rubber tubing for something else. I don't even remember why I had the rubber tubing, but you know, it fits rather nicely for my purpose. So let's see what else. So now I guess we can try to rivet. I will just use this tool to punch the hole, because this hole creates like a 16 gauge and I don't have to drill it. But if you don't have this, I usually use my drill. I have a drill, What is this name again? The mini drill press. There you go. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll try to show you. It might not reach too far back. Yeah, I don't think you can see it. It's too far back. The light just won't get it. Let me see if I can bring it closer. I don't think so. It has a lot of things on top of it. Let's see. This is the mini drill press. It's super useful. It's another tool that one of my used tools because I do a lot of piercings and riveting too. So if I need to drill a little hole, I really like using the drill press as opposed to my flex shaft. I don't know. I just never feel confident enough to drill with my flex shaft. I feel like the drill bit's just gonna break on me and fly into my face. It's just like just some kind of an irrational fear that probably I don't really need to have. I don't know. But these are like the drill bits that you can use. It's quite tiny. You can get these like high-speed stainless steel, high-speed steel drill, I think. There's a lot of them on eBay on a set of the small ones. The big ones I think just come from like the regular drill, like for the Dremel or whatnot. But this is the high-speed drill. This is a normal twist drill. It's not a diamond drill or anything, and you can use this to drill into metal. So if I use a small rivet, I will use the drill. But if I use usually I am lazy and just use my rivet on the 16 gauge because I can easily use my punch here, and I don't have to drill it. I don't have to deal with the drill bar and stuff like that. So let's punch this metal. I usually have it suspended on my vise, but like I said, since I cannot mount my vise on my stump, I was just gonna do it like free-handedly. And one tip, if you want to make sure, like if you have a predefined place to have it drilled, I would suggest you mark it with a center punch like this. I was just gonna do random punch. Because I'm not gonna use this for anything, but that's how I do it. This is useful if you need to drill it, to anchor your drill so it's not running around your metal and mar it, And if you use something like this, it's good to anchor it to the, I don't know if you can see it here, but it has a pointy end in the middle, and that's where I usually like anchor my metal, trying to like find it where, and then just do that. So it's quite useful like that. and the result is pretty clean. There's no annoying burr to clean off. So this generally fit my 16 gauge. I don't know, this one looks kind of big. No, it still fits. Still fits just fine. Because I know like I said, I have two different sizes of this crafted bindings riveting tool, and the bigger one creates a bigger hole. I like to use my older one, which is this smaller one. It fits the 16 gauge wire better. So let's see if we want to rivet these two things. I want to cut my rubber. Gonna cut a longer rubber tubing. Fit into my wire here. When it's longer, it's rather hard to push because it's snug. Let's see if this one actually not going to. So the one I had before would fit just fine. The press actually had a smaller hole than what I thought it had. So this would do just fine. Okay, let's try. So that's what we're gonna do, right? I like to put because the bead has bigger hole than I would like. It's obviously bigger than the wire here, but it's still not big enough that my rubber tubing would go inside. So I want to cover the hole with my head rivet here, created from the ball pin. So this one, the one I'm gonna cut it from the back. Gonna fit my old credit card and cut it to size. Make sure you hold the wire like that, because a lot of times it will like fly off when you cut it. And I would really suggest that you use a eye protection. I wear glasses, so sometimes I kind of neglect of wearing a protection safety glasses. But if you're not wearing any glasses or any kind, I would suggest you use some protective glasses like that, safety glasses. I'm gonna use it because it's a good practice to do so. So I'm going to just place it on my bench block like that. And then I'm going to use the ball peen hammer and do that. Sometimes you need to like kind of rotate it a little. This is kind of gonna be a little hard because, like I said, it might not work because the bead is a little bigger than I like the brass bead, and like I said, it can bend inside. So let's see if this works or not. When it bends, it reduces your wire length with the part that you can flare. So we'll see. It still works. the result. You can clean the hammer marks later. It's hard to see. So there you have it. It's riveted. It's really tight. Won't go anywhere. Now what if you messed up, right? Like you rivet it, but then you don't like it. You can try to drill the wire here, but first you need to mark it with your centering punch. Where did I put that thing? Where did my centering punch go? Oh, here. It's kind of hidden. So you can mark the middle with a centering punch and then drill it and see if you can take it out. But sometimes it's just best to like scrap it. Or you can try to cut the rivet head with your flush cutter. Sometimes that works too. But yeah, that's two ways to take your rivet out, is either by drilling it from the back or you just cut out the head. Now let's see if we want to we use this tool to rivet, the riveting tool. They have two different heads. One is for tube riveting and one is for just the normal rivet. I only have the normal rivet because I don't feel like spending another more money on, you know, like these things and the tool. More bead to rivet. So size 1/8 probably works. We'll see. We have to test it out. Okay, first I'm going to drill a hole. Just gonna randomly drill a hole here. So then we want to fit the bead on top of the hole, right? And push this the prefab rivet head inside. So now I hope you can see this. But the prefab rivet head has a hole in the middle. That's because the tool will rivet it out. So it's gonna half and half tube riveting on the back and normal rivet on the front. So as usual, you need to make sure that it's not too high. So I think this one is okay. It's about 1 millimeter above the surface. I think I dropped my credit card. Oh. Can like check it. It's about the perfect height. See, it's kind of flush to the credit card. Okay, so now we're using this. Like I said, I usually mount this on a vise, so it's easier. Whoop. Oh, wow, there goes my bead. Hold on. This is why you're mounting it on a vise, because maneuvering it with one hand, just things like this, it's gonna happen. It's gonna like, poof, gone from your hand. Let me find another bead. Okay, back with another bead. Let's second try. See, I have a moleskin. It's not a real moleskin, but the name is moleskin that I put on top of the bottom part because sometimes it can mar your uh, your metal because sometimes you just twist it too tightly, so it doesn't really. I mean, it kind of helped, but not really. But that's what's on it. I just want to tell you that. So to use this tool, you want to match the rivet head on the bottom part. It has a kind of it has a dimple where you can match the rivet head on it. Yeah, I think it's on it. So and then you twist the lever here. Okay, now it's a twist. It's suspended in the middle. So you're just kind of like twist it like so. It's tight and undo it. So that's the result on the back. So it's super easy, but like I said, it's kind of limited of what you can do with it. If you have something riveted in the middle of a big piece, then you're out of luck. But it can be useful for things that only need, around the rim. It's quick and simple, but the downside, it sometimes leaves a little tool mark around the rivet, like so. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's handmade, right? You can always take it out or soften it up a little bit by polishing it. But that's the two different types of rivets, like one by tool, one by hand. Catwoman asks, could you go over if you want to rivet an enameled cup? I'm scared I'm going to crack the enamel. Well, I have never worked with enamel before, so you just have to try. I mean, if you have a scrap enamel, I'm pretty sure you have to punch the hole first before you enamel, and then you enamel, and then you rivet it. So with this thing, you might be able to, but I don't know about hammer. It doesn't use a lot of force, but I know enamel is glass, so you just gotta experiment because I haven't done it before, so I cannot give any yes or no. You just have to try it yourself on that part. I'm sorry. Namir asking, couldn't you use a little masking tape to hold your piece while you maneuver your tool in place? Maybe. But I don't have a masking tape. I wasn't ready for a masking tape right now, so kind of do it on the fly, I guess. So what else? Oh, riveting on a hard to reach place. So riveting on a flower that we made a few days ago can be a little tricky because it is like has a limited space right here, right? It is higher than the rivet head, so the rivet head may not reach the steel block because it's a lot smaller. So what you can do is to use like a stamp, something that has a small round base that you can suspend the stamp in a vise like this. This would be the best way to do it. But basically, because with this you can fit it right inside the flower, like so. Well, you cannot use the flat block like this. So that is my tip for riveting in a hard to reach places. You can also use, if you don't have a stamp, you can use your dapping punch, but you will need to grind the back a little. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a dapping punch that I used with a steel hammer. I think Namira the other day was asking about the mushrooming. This one is a little mushroom from the hammer strike. It's not severe, but if you don't want your steel tool to mushroom on the back, you use a softer hammer, like a nylon hammer or a brass hammer. So anyway, you can use the back of a dapping punch to fit your flower here, to be riveted like so. And if you don't have a vise, you can kinda use the holder of the dapping punch and use it as the riveting anvil, like so. It takes a little balancing to do because the way it is drilled a little bigger than the punch itself. So, and you know, basically you're riveting on a ball because you're gonna use the back of it, so it's kind of like a little wobbly, but it can work. I've tried it, I've used it a lot of times before. It definitely works. I use the dapping punch trick on my bangle right here. So you can see this is like a cup, and then there's a flower inside the cup, and that's what I use the dapping punch for riveting. This is the back of it. So if you're curious, I have the tutorial for this in my website. It's in popnicute.supply. It's a Craftsy website. You can automatically download it after you buy the tutorial. So it's a tutorial to make this bracelet from beginning to end. It has nice pictures and clear instructions. So that's my little plug-in. Buy my tutorial. Let's see if there is another question. I don't see any more questions. Do you have any more questions? See if I can cover it while we're here. Um. Oh yeah, I mentioned this tool. You can use it to measure the wire. Um, but the credit card is a lot simpler using the used credit card to measure the rivet head. But you can also use this, like you can set this, uh, set the distance to like 1 millimeter, right? So and then if you put the sheet, hold on, let me punch a hole. Let's see if you want to rivet this to that, and you already have measured it about 1 millimeter distance. You can use it to mark. It's kind of hard, but you know, it can work. But I still like the credit card trick better. You can kind of mark. It's kind of hard to find. So you can kind of like scratch a little the mark where you want to cut the wire. So and then you can cut it. But like I said, I like the credit card trick better than that part. But you know, if you don't have a credit card and you already have this tool, that's one way to do it. Yeah, I think rubber tubing you can get from any hobby store like Hobby Lobby. I'm pretty sure Hobby Lobby would have some. Although I'm not sure which aisle it would be. But Paulette said she got it from Michael's. Yeah, I cannot say precisely where did I buy it from, which aisle in the craft shop. So you might have to ask them, where would I find a rubber tubing? Probably where like they sell like uh, it's not jewelry, but the crafting aisle where they sell like rainbow loom and such. I think they usually have like paracord and whatnot, so that aisle might have the rubber tubing. I bought it a long time ago, so I can't remember. But you can check Rio Grande. They might have rubber tubing over there too, because they sell memory wire, right? So might have some. Could be where I bought it, but you know, like I said, I've had it for a long time. I don't remember anymore where I got this from. So any more questions? Turn off the light. Point this back to my face. I think I've shown you everything that I wanted to show you. Oh, there's another cool rivet head that you can get. This is called the escutcheon. I don't know how to say escutcheon. Is that how you say escutcheon pins? And you can get this from eBay or Amazon, and I have it in different sizes. This one is 16 gauge, and I also have some in 18 gauge. And this one, I believe, is 20 gauge. It's quite sharp, so be careful. I was like pinching it every, it pinched me. So you can see like it's really sharp at the bottom. But this is another way you can use rivet head, another rivet head pins that you don't have to make yourself. I think I learned this from Deb. I don't remember her last name, but she's the one that makes a lot of what is it called? Coloring on copper, like using the Prismacolor on copper. She used a lot of the escutcheon pins, like the 20 gauge, for riveting her pencil color copper on the base metal. I think the escutcheon pins only available in solid brass. That's what I found anyway. I haven't found one in copper, so brass works just fine for me because I like mixed metal, so it works. Next, I think tomorrow we're gonna go over tube riveting. How about that? Now we know how to do the normal rivet. Tomorrow we're gonna learn about tube riveting. So just to make a theme from today and tomorrow. So I'll see you. I guess there's no more questions. Cat say I have those from Ace Hardware. You have to anneal the brass first and don't put. You don't really have to anneal it. I've never annealed my escutcheon pins. I just hammer it right away. It works because it's only like a small amount of, like I said, it's only like a 1 millimeter. Don't go over like over 1.5 millimeter to rivet. So you can just hammer it straight away. You can anneal it, I guess, if you want it to like spread out maybe like more, but in my experience you can just use it straight up. At least I never annealed it. And well, I guess that's a wrap for today. I will see you tomorrow to learn about tube riveting. Okay, thank you for joining me tonight, and as always I really appreciate your support, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And if you have any more suggestions or questions for next videos, just mention it in the comment. Like the replay might be available around an hour from now. I'm not sure like how fast YouTube is uploading the replay, but you can check back or just go to my Facebook page, the Popnicute Facebook group, the Popnicute VIP group, and you can also suggest your what's next, what is for the next tutorial, what topic should I cover. And I will see you tomorrow for tube riveting. Bye! Mwah.